That's too steep for this machine. Too steep.
Well, here's the full story. It's a tale of poor decisions, regrets, and more poor decisions. If you're one of the tens of viewers that have seen my previous videos on this, you could probably skip forward a bit or stay and relive the moments with me again. It'll be fun. Let me say that online betting for stuff far away that you've never seen isn't the smartest of ideas, especially when you know very little about what makes that thing good or bad. It does, however, bring some excitement to your day, so that's fun. I wanted an excavator, and honestly had very little justification to owning one, but it was in my head, so I had to act. Certainly selling a kidney for a fancy new one wasn't going to happen. I checked. Then I ran across these little off-brand machines. I saw many of them go cheap at auction, so that was all the motivation I needed. Plus, I got approval from the boss because she thought it was tiny and cute. Well, here we are. Now I'm the owner, the proud owner, of a tiny and cute AGT excavator. So one thing to be aware of is these come right off the boat from China. They're not prepped, they're not tested, and they certainly don't have a warranty. I think I got lucky with this one only having one poor weld that was pretty easily addressed. Other commons are they're really hard to operate and that the controls are super sensitive. The cheaper they are, the fewer things they have, such as cooling fans or oil coolers, so it gets hot and heat will ruin stuff real quick. So I did add a cooling fan to this one. It works great, and unfortunately it does draw a little bit more power than the motor will charge. So I think about 3 or 4 hours into it, the battery started to run a little low. So change your fluids. Don't be tempted to go run your new toy without first putting quality fluids in there. When I drained this oil, I saved a sample of it in a cup, and it was sparkly. There was a lot. You can kind of see it here a little bit suspended in the oil, but there was a lot of material in there. I don't know what kind of oil they use. I don't quite trust it. So I did do a full drain of both the motor oil and the hydraulic oil. So that's enough talking. Let's see this thing in action. Beware, the controls are super touchy, and I have no idea what I'm doing anyhow, so that's my excuse. So after scratching at that stump for a little while, basically getting nowhere, I need something with a little bit more power, a little bit more weight behind it to finish the job. I prefer a tractor. Well, it's trenching time. I must admit, it does a pretty good job. Probably do 10 times better once I get more comfortable with the controls. Now, at this point, I hadn't put the spring kit into the pilot controls, so they are really super sensitive. After putting the pilot springs in, that tamed it down, or tamed it pretty well. before I picked up this machine, I was concerned if I would even fit in it. I'm a fat guy, and truth be told, it's a struggle. Um, and so after I got it, I was pretty down on myself for buying something that made me feel, well, as fat as I am. The other issue that I couldn't or can't get over is the very real possibility of not finding parts for this. I think it's mainly off the shelf stuff that can be replaced. However, that could get pretty expensive really fast. The motor is essentially the same engine that you can find at Harbor Freight, the Predator 420cc. Exact same engine. Hydraulic pump is pretty standard off the shelf. Cylinders, yeah, the cylinder's a cylinder, right? The other things that might be hard is the swivel motor, the swivel joint, and the drive motors themselves. So, back to the online auction I went, and I found the absolute worst looking used name brand excavator that had some serious hydraulic issues, and I thought, that's the one I want. Oh my god. So that's dry right there in the pilot controls. See if we can get in there. Nice and dry. I saw something puking up here, which I'm not surprised. One of these things. Oh, leaky seal right there. Okay. And then right there, I think that's the majority of our hydraulic leak. Right there. I'm going to scope underneath, see if I can look under there and make sure that there's nothing cooling up in there or nothing else leaking. But I think this is it right here. So fix a leak here, figure out the 2-speed system, put a new battery in it, and new seal on the both the stick and the dipper. Oh, that's probably not good. Hope that's not cross-threaded. I'm gonna need a new cylinder. No bueno. Cool. So in order to do any repairs, I had to clean out about 20 years of grease, oil, and dirt. Some of it had hardened like concrete. It also looked like it had been left open for a while by the amount of leaves and mice nest debris that was packed in there. It was pretty bad. I probably spent at least 3 or 4 hours on just this part. You'll see. You'll see. There's more. Alright, I got this cleaned out as good as I can get it for now. Let's start unhooking the hoses. We got P on the top and T on the bottom, and then hose 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, well, I got new hoses, but I screwed up and ordered everything one size too big. So now I need to order them again, and unfortunately these are custom hoses, so I can't return them. So yeah, 1/4 inch, not 3/8. Whoops. Alright, got my replacement hoses, the correct size this time, and they are all labeled up, so I'll begin reinstalling those shortly. $168, $170 for 6 hoses, which I don't think is bad, because locally I priced these out at Cauliflower, our local hydraulic shop, and they wanted about $70 per hose. So I think getting these online at Hydraulics Direct was a lot cheaper. Alright, I also ordered filters from Bobcat and some replacement main pins, some bushings, and there's some seals in here somewhere. Yeah, some seals. So this was about $560. These stupid pins were about $100 a piece. These bushings I think were like $20 a piece. This one was maybe like $40, and then there's some more bushings in here. Maybe these were the $40 ones, but got everything I need to stiffen up the arm, change all the fluids and filters, and I've got my whole seal kit for all of the hydraulics except for the swing boom cylinder, which isn't leaking, so I'm not even going to bother taking that out and doing it. I am going to do the boom up and the dipper stick cylinders for sure. Probably the curl, just to make sure I do them all. But that was about 165 bucks and 30 cents. Not about, exactly. Okay, let's get some hoses in. They're all capped off on either end, and they all need to go down here. Maybe I'll go one at a time, sort of. Alright, well my phone died when I was testing this, but nothing leaks, so I buttoned it all up. Nothing leaks down here, so that's good. I did fix another thing, and if you remember, I couldn't shut this off with the key, but I can now. So pretty much all the fuses were blown. Oh, I have the battery unhooked. Hang on. Alright, let's try that again. So all the fuses were blown. And I still have one wire that needs to get fixed, and that's going from the alternator to the battery for charging, because that looks like it got smoked, which means I think somebody hooked the battery up wrong, and I think now my fuel gauge might be working, and that light's working, so that is good. Here's the wire that I found. It got smoked, but everything seems to be working now. I can shut it off. It is good.
Yeah, pretty much every single fuse except for this one, which is the ignition, was blown. So, cool. And they're not blown yet, so they seem to be working. Put these caps back on. Alright, caps are back on for the fuse block. I am happy. That means I don't need to diagnose this shutoff solenoid. Basically, when you turn the key off, this gets energized for about, I don't know, 10-15 seconds and pokes out, and actually it sucks in and turns this valve to shut the fuel off so the engine dies, and that's the timer that controls it. So I don't need to mess with any of that because it all works now. Power of a fuse. Pretty cool. Let's see, I need to replace that line or that wire. It went from here to the alternator, which I've already dropped my socket wrench down there, and I got to fish it out and get that out. So I do need to add a little bit more hydraulic fluid to make sure that this isn't leaking. Well, I'll be able to find out with puddles underneath of it once I pull it in the garage. But so far, so good. Well, where we're at now is I brought it inside, so it's a lot cooler to work on rather than the 90-degree weather outside. But unfortunately, she's a puking all over my floor. Yep. Pretty nasty leak still. So it wasn't just this hose that was puking. There's something underneath. I really hope it's not the swivel joint, and I hope it's a hose. Please be a hose. I don't know if I'm going to get to record much here, but I'm going to try. That seems like it's going to fall. Alright. Trying not to lay directly in the oil, or even put my phone directly in the oil. This ain't gonna work. Okay, well, I gotta take this bottom plate off, and I'm gonna do that, and I'll turn the camera back on. Well, I got that plate off. Try to weasel my way in here. Take a look.
So these long pauses of me not talking in the video, that's me realizing that the swivel joint is bad. It needs to come out, and oh my god, that's going to be a lot of work.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell where this oil is coming from, because it's so dirty under there. Huh. Maybe you guys can see something I don't see. It's gonna need a good cleaning, that's for sure. Is that dripping out of the bottom of the swivel joint? All right. Look at that nastiness. Certainly does look like it's dripping out of the bottom. Yeah, it technically fits, but don't like it. Not getting under that. Nope. That's a no-go. Alright, got a little bit more room here. Not as much as on the lift, but I kept hearing that song Dumb Ways to Die. And, well, let's avoid that at all costs. Alright, so I'm sitting under here staring at this thing, and I wonder, starting to second guess if it's leaking from the bottom of the swivel joint. Let me try to fix the light here and get a good view. So I've got seepage coming from these fittings. Now, of course, it's flowing down the swivel joint, and it looks like it's leaking from it, but it's seeping from above. So I don't know if it's this first fitting or that top fitting up there, or something higher. Something higher. I don't think it's anything higher because it's not super oily up top. So I need to get this really clean so I can tell exactly where the oil is coming from. So it almost looks like it's got some seepage coming from here too. You can see it running down past that fitting and down onto the bottom of the swivel joint. Alright, I got the first three out. New O-rings on. Let's go crawl under there and put those in. Put these in. Okay, I said I was going to show you the finished product. At least I think I said that. I meant to. But bit of an update here for you. So I replaced the weeping O-rings, which was not the problem. The oil leak is coming from the top of the swivel, the top seal. So yep, it's all got to come out. I've got to undo all of this mess, all that mess underneath, and pull that swivel joint out and put some new seals in it. So I'm actually looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. Starting the process of taking off all these hoses up top. Nothing special here, nothing innovative, just marking these with different color zip ties so I remember which order they go back on, and I hook them all up correctly when it comes time to put them back together. Now I'll probably put another zip tie corresponding color on the fittings that they go to. Make it easier. I'm kind of thinking I probably need to clean this up a bit. There is a lot of gunk and oil and crap all in here. So yep, this will get cleaned up. All right, everything is off and color coded. I have no idea if this is focusing, but yeah, I'm ready to drop the swivel joint out. Okay, let's go degrease ourselves. There's a big old hole now. Cool. I don't know why I was torturing myself with just having the 4x6 underneath it when I could lift it higher, but anyhow, put some 4x4s, so now I have 8 inches of extra clearance and extra 4 inches. That should be just fine. Alright, well, them seals, or that top seal, has some cracks in it. So there's our failure, right there. So, this dark area right here is where the taper starts. This area right here is where the main dust seal is. This is an open area, and then this first kind of like shiny bit right here, that's the first main pressure seal. And I don't feel any issues at all there. Actually, I think it looks pretty good in here. Look at it from the bottom. Now these two holes right here correspond with this slot right here. No, sorry, this slot right here. This one. Because this is a seal. This is an open slot. And those two holes here and here go to plugs, so they aren't anything. Maybe a drain, I don't know. I'd have to look that up. So that means this little nick that is right here, I'm not worried about, because this is the last high pressure seal, and then this is the last chamber, I don't know, area where the hydraulic fluid goes out and lines up with one of these fittings on the side here. And then we have the place where the seal rides is going to be right in here. And I can feel it's fine, and then it tapers. Probably hit that with some 1000 grit. But yeah, I think it's good. Alright, here we are again underneath the beast. It's time to start connecting things back up. It's really hard to record what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I will try, but it won't be good. So let's take you off the gimbal. Okay. Drippy drip. I probably should have taken the cap off the swivel joint first. Okay. Oh, that went in my hair. I think I need to loosen this upper one up so I can get it out of the way. So I can get this one on. Uh-oh. Oh. Alright, well, that's getting threaded on. Now purple. Let's take that cap off first. Okay. This is the case drain, I believe, on the travel motor. And the other two are the directional, forward and reverse. to tighten that back up. And this one to tighten up. And then this one needs to tighten up. Okay, got that side done. I just have 3 more hoses to do. I think I'm gonna pull the camera out because it's getting pretty beat up down here. I'll get these 3 done and I'll bring you back down here. Alright folks, well, I am sorry, but I didn't film any of this going in. I was about to, but I really didn't. I guess I didn't want to because I just wanted to get it done and not worry about camera angles and whatnot. Anyhow, it's in. It's all hooked up. You see a bunch of wetness under here, and all of that is from the installation process. There was still some fluid in the valve blocks, and some of the hoses gushed out when I took the caps off of them. So that is done. I did find another leak right here. This cylinder makes the tracks go in and out, and this fitting was loose. Let's see, underneath, my first test was a failure, I'll admit. There was one fitting way up top underneath the swivel joint that I failed to tighten properly, so it was gushing fluid. That's fixed. That was just tighten it up. And then my other major failure was this hose that's in 2 pieces isn't supposed to be in 2 pieces. I had it routed improperly, and it got torn apart when I did the 360 swivel. So luckily I had a spare hose, and I have a bunch of spare hoses here. I was able to cram one of these in there and replace it, so we're good. Next up is rebuilding these cylinders, replacing the seals in these. Let's see, we've got the boom, we've got the stick, and we've got the curl. So I'm going to do all 3 of those. And I do have seals for the blade. I don't know that it's leaking. I don't know that I'm going to pull it off and do it. I might. I probably will. And then I do have seals for the track expansion, which I'm not going to do. Not right now. Everything else, pins, bushings, I've got replacements for these. I don't have replacements for these pins and bushings. Well, I have replacements for the bushings, not the pins. I'm probably gonna end up doing this I can't speak English. These bushings, and then I have new pins for, look down there, the bucket, and this hard line that's all messed up. I have a new one already, so I'll put that on, and then we'll start changing the fluids, get some fresh oil. I do need a filter housing cover, so I'm gonna try to, I can order the whole filter housing, but it's like $100 and some odd bucks. All I need is the cover, so I'm gonna try to find that. Then I need to change the filters oil, hydraulic fluid, and fuel. Change the oil. Put a little bit more hydro fluid in there. Start using it. I'm excited. Alright, so we need to get this nut off the end, and I hear that is really hard to do sometimes. Before I put this gland on, I'm gonna get it all cleaned up. So this is most likely got red Loctite on it and is going to be a hassle to get undone. So let's find out how much of a hassle. First, try being silly. Yep, being silly doesn't work. So in theory, if there's a lock on there, that should. I should break. I'm going to use that. Is that right? Of course. But there's nuts. Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't like it. I got it. Go. It's a little warm. I don't see. That was hot. That was still hot. I don't see evidence of Loctite on there. I'll look at the instruction manual and see what they say as far as torque and stuff. This has a little bit of heat in it. The seal's soaking in some warm oil. So this goes on the inner. The spring needs to go towards the inside of the cylinder. So it's going to go in this way. Now, they make a tool for this, which I don't have. So I'm going to try to do this without a tool. It's harder done than said. So the tool compresses it like that, and then doesn't help that everything's all greasy, slippery. That is not going to be easy. Oh boy. Okay. That's hard. Put it back in the oil. Warm it up a little bit more. No. I wonder if it would be easier to go in this way. All right, we're going to give this a go. Okay, I'm gonna try to make my own tool. Not the right shape or size, but I'm gonna give it a try. A pair of needle nose pliers, and I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing on them. So I don't mar the surface of the seal. Okay. Let that hang out right there. Alright, so now the idea is grab the right part. Wow. Maybe I should have like coated this in oil. That. Come on. Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. Close. We're close. And we got it. Cool. I don't know if you can see that, but it's in there. And it's pointing the right way too, so that's good. Excellent. You can do it without the tool. This one should be a lot easier. should just go right in, right like that. Okay. I have a lip pointing that way and a lip pointing that way. And we take that O-ring goes there. And this bigger O-ring goes there. This piece is done. Now this one has 3 bits to it. With this backup, so it goes in like that. Right. There's not enough room. Oh no, there is. Yeah. I'm just going to work it around. Stretched it out a little bit. And we got an O-ring. Something don't seem right here. It is. Something doesn't seem right. Alright, so here's the tool I got for the Glen nut. See if I can take that one off. I already put this lower one on with it, and that seemed to work. Here we go. Alright, cool. Well, this does work. I need to undo the two hoses from right here and let everything drain. It leaves some pressure. So I'm going to get that off just like the other one. Alright, so I got the rod out of the arm, and I don't know why, but that is a much bigger nut than the nut on the other one. And I don't have a socket for it, so I'm going to have to finish this up tomorrow, because I've got to get a proper size socket for this, and that means I'm done for the day. Let's take the tension off the torque wrench. And I guess it's just going to have to sit here. Looks like I got all the seals. This nut looks like the right size too, so alright. This one has a spacer in the middle, so this was interesting. The piston part here, I'm going to call it a piston for lack of a better terminology, is smaller, but it's got a spacer. Interesting. And it's like that in the manual, so I know this is all factory. Okay, we're going to do the first dig. Swivel joints done. Seals on the cylinders for the boom, the stick, and the curl are done. I haven't done any of the bushings or pins yet because, well, honestly, I'm kind of sick of working on it and I just want to use it for a little bit, and if I decide to keep this, I'll do the pins. Otherwise, I'll give the pins to the next guy and let him do them. So here we go. I'm going to dig a little bit in front of the garage here because I have an issue with the water pooling up kind of like basically where it's at. So behind the excavator, I need to knock that hill down a little bit and just kind of slope it down so water will run off on the surface. I'm not going to put trenches or anything in here. everything is a success. And yes, I'm not an operator, but I figured it out. Cool. Alright, let's take a look and see how it did. Judge me in the comments. I don't care. This line of gravel is the drainage, so it gradually gets flush with the surface and it'll just drain right on back. Cool. And if we look at this side, pretty smooth. Yep, that works. I finally get to conclude this video, and I will share with you my final thoughts. So, if your budget can't afford it and you are mechanically inclined, either option will work. The used Bobcat is a far superior machine in not only noise, but smoothness, power, speed, everything. It's just a much better machine. It's kind of twice the size too, so it's not really a good fair comparison. The Chinese machine, I view these as more of disposable than long-term. Sure, there's some folks out there with, you know, a couple hundred hours, 300-400 hours, maybe even plus, close, you know, getting on 1,000 hours. I don't doubt that they've had to replace a few things, and even in the Bobcat at 1,000 hours, you're gonna replace a bunch of stuff. So the big difference is you can get parts. As long as you get a machine relatively new enough, you're gonna find parts. Now, as far as this Chinese thing, you're not gonna find parts, or at least you can, but it's gonna be hard, and you're gonna be replacing them with the same quality that it came with. And by that I mean not very good. I've seen a lot of images of these Chinese machines with broken sprockets, leaky drive motors, broken cylinders, lots of bad pumps, lots of bad drive motors, you name it. There's a whole host of issues. I even saw one just completely detached from the undercarriage. Now, does that happen on these machines? Absolutely. It can happen. I think the same goes for both. Maintain them, they should be fine. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take a used name brand machine over a brand new Chinese machine. It cost me twice as much. I had to do a bunch of work and I'm still not done, but I enjoy running that machine. It is pleasant. It's not loud. It's powerful. It's not jerky. It's not so cramped that I can't fit in it. It's just a far better experience than what you get out of these Chinese machines. So take that with a grain of salt. Whatever. That's my opinion. Double your budget, get a used machine. Completely forgot a major decision point, and that is resale value. You're not going to get anywhere near what you paid for a used Chinese machine or Chinese excavator than you paid new. Case in point, you know how much I'm into this, around $4,200. I've had it listed on Facebook Market for the last month and a half, 2 months. Started off at $5,000, dropped it down to $4,700, then $4,500. There's a lot of nibbles, but nobody's really willing to pay any decent money for these, especially one that's got a few hours on it. I had it for sale or trade, and I got some wild trade offers. You know, a couple cars, motorcycles, Harleys, even a crack house in Pennsylvania, which, yeah, no, I don't want that. But it looks like I'm probably gonna, at best, break even on this. Probably let it go for 4,200, maybe even 4,000. The way it is, it's a hard sell. The Bobcat, on the other hand, I think once I put new stickers on it and give it a paint job and finish the pins, you know, I'm into it. Maybe 11 at the most. I'll certainly be able to get 11 out of it. Maybe even 12, maybe 12.5 for the right person. Because it's a good machine. And with the new cylinders, or at least everything's resealed, new pins, new bushings, new seals in the swivel joint, it's going to last for another 2,000 hours and really not have that much of an issue, especially if you don't use it for like daily use construction stuff. So the other factor, resale value, there isn't any in these things. Once you buy it, you're stuck with it unless you want to give it away, basically lose money on it, have a hard time finding parts, you name it. I need to quit beating this dead horse and just enjoy my Bobcat.